the United States can't handle the demand. They don't grow enough to supply the United States of America.
Have you ever seen an American supermarket urge shoppers to stock up on produce before it disappears? Just last week, retail chains across 7 of the largest states in the U.S. issued a warning the supply of fruits and vegetables is running out faster than expected. Items that once filled entire shelves are now limited to just 2 per person. And the reasons aren't simple. New import tariffs, a shortage of farm workers to pick crops, fungal outbreaks, devastating harvests in South America, and relentless extreme weather wiping out fields all play a part. If you think this problem is still far off, you might want to take a look inside your fridge right now. Here are 5 fresh foods that are rapidly vanishing, and waiting until next week to buy them could be a big mistake. Number 1, bananas. Have you ever thought bananas would be the next thing we'd have to say a temporary goodbye to? The cheapest, easiest to buy, softest, most digestible fruit is slowly disappearing from some supermarkets. And it's not because of the season. It's the result of a silent crisis that has been brewing for years and is finally breaking out. Bananas in the U.S. are almost entirely imported from Central and South America. But right now, countries like Ecuador, Colombia, and Guatemala are drowning in chaos, crop diseases, droughts, floods, plus skyrocketing logistics costs after port disruptions. And this is no longer a distant worry. According to Time magazine, some banana-growing regions lost more than 30% of their harvest in the second quarter of 2025, mainly due to tropical race 4 fungus. This disease can't be eradicated. The only solution is to abandon the land and move elsewhere. The problem is, elsewhere is getting infected too. Think back to the last time you bought bananas at Walmart. Did you notice the bunches were no longer split into smaller ones? Some stores no longer offer soft, ripe bananas, only hard green ones. And the price? What used to be just a few dozen cents per pound is now creeping close to $1 per pound, in many places nearly double compared to last year. It may sound small, but for households living on fixed budgets, bananas were once the safest bet in the shopping cart. Easy to eat, packed with potassium, no cooking needed, simple to store. And now, people are considering switching to apples, oranges, or even packaged cookies, simply because bananas are no longer cheap and easy. This trend isn't stopping. Some importers have started admitting that if East Coast ports go on strike later this year, bananas might not make it into the US for weeks, maybe even months. Even without a total shortage, empty banana shelves are already showing up at major supermarkets a few days each week, especially in New York, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina. Not many people notice, but that's the clearest signal that stability is gone. Strange, isn't it? Something once invisible every time you shopped, as simple as peel, eat, toss, is suddenly something you need to plan for. Check ripeness. Count how many to buy. Time your shopping trips. This isn't price manipulation. It's not some marketing campaign. It's the consequence of supply chain cracks that were warned about back in 2022 and 2023. But no one really paid attention until the fruit began vanishing from shelves. If you're thinking, well, I'll just eat something else, ask yourself, what's cheaper than bananas? What doesn't need a knife to peel, doesn't need rinsing, doesn't need refrigeration? What has just enough sugar without being risky for people with heart conditions or diabetes? The answer is very few. And that's why American retailers are quietly placing bananas on the priority list. Meaning when you see them in stock, grab them right away, because once they're gone, there's no telling how long it will take to restock. You don't need to hoard like during the pandemic. Just know this is no longer the kind of fruit you can put off buying until next week. All it takes is one trip to the store and finding the banana shelf empty for you to realize what was once the cheapest could become the most expensive if we ignore the warning signs. Number 2, tomatoes. If your local supermarket still has tomatoes for under $2 a pound, you should buy them now. Don't wait. Don't hope for a sale. Don't expect discounts. Because no one can promise there will be any left next week. Just last week, price boards in Texas showed cherry tomatoes jumping 34% in only 18 days. In Michigan, some supermarkets have stopped selling fresh tomatoes altogether, saving their stock for restaurants and large catering orders. No one thought the fruit that always sat quietly in every shopping basket would become the center of this summer's chaos. Prices going up is one thing. What shocks people more is how tomatoes are disappearing in such a strange way. It's not shelves going empty all at once. Instead, stores cut back stock day by day until shoppers find only a few wilted boxes left, or some unfamiliar imported variety that costs twice as much, tastes bland, and has a thick skin. Some stores even post signs that say only heirloom tomatoes left. All other varieties sold out. Sound familiar? The problem isn't the harvest. It isn't strictly climate either. It's the quiet adjustments happening behind the scenes that shoppers aren't told about. Retail chains are turning to imported tomatoes, but those come with suddenly higher tariffs. Meanwhile, domestic farms are deliberately planting less because they fear losing money. The result: even if you have the cash, you might not find the kind you're used to. Roma disappearing. Grape replaced with imported cherry. Salad tomatoes cut down to half-size bags. Yet the price tag stays the same or ticks up every week. This isn't just a picky eater's issue. This is every family's problem, from the home cook to the person who just wants 2 slices on a weekend burger. Because when tomatoes vanish, your favorite foods vanish with them. A sandwich loses its sweetness. A pot of spaghetti loses its freshness. Or maybe you start replacing them with ketchup, the very thing you once avoided because of sodium and additives. And then comes the ripple effect. The canned tomato market is also shifting. Some domestic brands have announced recipe changes because they can no longer maintain the same natural sweetness. Which raises the question, if even canned tomatoes can't hold the same quality as before, how many other foods are changing without us noticing? Not many want to say it out loud. But tomatoes have become one of the most unstable crops in the US supply chain in 2025. Prices move like stocks. Varieties change week to week, and shoppers are left adjusting to the idea of take what's available. Do you remember slicing into a fresh tomato, the juicy center, the sweetness, that light aroma? Soon that memory may be replaced with frozen bagged tomatoes, tasteless, skin heavy. Or worse, empty shelves that leave you scrambling for substitutions because your supermarket simply doesn't have the kind you're used to. So this isn't just a warning. It's a note for anyone who still believes tomatoes are always there. They're not. Tomatoes are disappearing quietly without fanfare, but enough to make you rethink every familiar meal of the week. Number 3, lettuce. Lately, a lot of people have started complaining that something feels off about their weekly burger. The bun is the same, the meat is the same, but the lettuce inside just doesn't taste right anymore. Sometimes it's soggy, sometimes it's bitter, and sometimes it's barely more than a tiny shred stuck to the patty. If you've ever hesitated to ask a fast food worker, is something wrong with your lettuce, you're not alone. It's not because the restaurants are careless. The entire lettuce supply chain is breaking down, and the result is quality slipping fast, slowly but clearly. Lettuce has always been the cheap, easy, always available green. But in just the past 6 months, the cracks have become obvious. Have you noticed bagged, pre-cut lettuce containing more wilted leaves? Or some packs going slimy after only 2 days with mold at the edges? Some supermarket chains have even swapped the label from fresh lettuce to mixed salad or leaf blend. Sounds fancier, but really it's just a way of padding out the shortage with softer, easier to grow greens. The big problem is where it's grown. Most lettuce in the US comes from California and Arizona, 2 states facing severe drought-depleted soil and major labor shortages. Many farms simply don't have enough water to maintain past standards. Yields are falling, and to keep prices stable, suppliers are cutting corners, shorter growing cycles, early harvests, or drought-resistant hybrids that lack the crispness and flavor of traditional varieties. So what's the outcome? You still see lettuce bags on shelves, but only the person eating it knows how much the quality has changed. Prices aren't standing still either. On average, lettuce prices rose 18% in the last quarter. Some types went up as much as 30%, but supermarkets disguised it by shrinking bag sizes from 16 ounces to 12. So you think you're paying the same, but you're actually getting less, and if you buy whole heads. Look closely, outer leaves are bruised, edges are browning, and unless you eat it the same day, it's likely heading straight to the trash. What about restaurants? Some small sandwich shops have quietly dropped lettuce altogether or reduced salad portions. Not because of cost, but because they can't guarantee consistent quality across batches. Have you ever been served a salad that looked more like boiled greens? What's worse is the impact on people who rely on fresh vegetables, most those with health conditions, dieters, older adults. When lettuce is no longer fresh, safe, and affordable, there aren't many alternatives. Kale is too pungent, canned vegetables don't work in salads, and microgreen mixes are pricey and spoil fast. Do you remember the last time you made a salad at home? How many leaves did you throw out because they didn't look right? Have you hesitated to add lettuce to a meal because it just isn't as fresh as before? If those things are already happening, don't wait until lettuce disappears completely from shelves. Because with this trend, it could happen quietly. No one will sound an alarm. No one will hang a sign that says out of lettuce. But the signs are already here. Burgers missing their crunch, salads tasting flat, and bags shrinking in size, all pointing to one truth: lettuce is no longer the reliable, easy option it used to be. And if you still find the kind you like at the same price as before, consider it luck, not something you can take for granted anymore. Number 4, strawberries. No one ever thought strawberries could run short. They're not a staple, not a necessity. Yet they're a constant and little treat yourself moments after dinner in kids' lunchboxes or in those chilly mornings with yogurt and granola. Strawberries aren't something people eat out of hunger. They're something people eat to hold on to a little joy. Maybe that's why hardly anyone has noticed that this fruit is quietly fading from everyday meals, with no warning at all. Internal data from retail chains along the East Coast shows fresh strawberry sales down 17% in just the past 3 months. At first glance, it sounds like demand is falling. But the truth is the opposite. Plenty of people still want them. The problem is they can't find the kind they used to. Familiar packs are being replaced with boxes of pale, fast-softening berries that have lost their sweet fragrance. Some stores are even stocking South American imports priced 40% higher, yet the flavor feels off. What's happening? Rising spring temperatures in California have shortened the harvest season. Heat waves cause blossoms to drop too early, slashing yields at farms. Many growers are forced to cull their harvest, tossing subpar berries to avoid damaging their reputation with supermarket partners. The result: fewer berries reach the shelves, while average prices have nearly doubled in states like Colorado, New Hampshire, and Illinois. The situation is even tighter because the cold chain, essential to keeping strawberries fresh, is breaking down under the weight of higher fuel costs, a shortage of refrigerated containers, and new import tariffs. Have you noticed your strawberry packs molding faster even before the expiration date? That's a clear sign of long transport times or unstable storage temperatures. And with strawberries, just a few degrees can ruin an entire box. Here's the catch. Strawberries aren't something you can just buy next week. If the batch is bad, you throw it out. If the price is too high, many people skip them altogether. And when habits break for long enough, people slowly forget this fruit even exists. No more desserts, no more berries in your cereal, no more snack packs with chocolate dip. From being light and refreshing, strawberries are becoming risky. What makes this worse is that the groups most affected are the ones who choose carefully and value their health the most. People with diabetes pick strawberries because their glycemic index is lower than mangoes or bananas. Dieters choose them for their low calories and antioxidants. Older adults eat them because they're soft, easy to chew, and good for the heart. And now, a premium box of strawberries at Whole Foods can cost $6.99, 3 times the price in 2022. But sadly, a higher price no longer guarantees better quality. When something small suddenly becomes complicated to buy, that's a sign the food system is no longer as reliable as it once was. Would you buy a new box if last week you had to throw half of it away? Would you still want to eat a fruit once considered the symbol of health? Now, under doubt for freshness, cleanliness, even safety. Here's the hard truth. Strawberries are no longer an easy, trustworthy, ready-to-use fruit. They've become one of the clearest symbols of today's fragile fresh food supply. So if you still find the kind of strawberries you remember, naturally sweet, mold-free, not mushy after 2 days, buy them. Not because you crave them, but because you don't know if you'll see them again. Number 5, pears. Pears are the kind of fruit almost nobody pays attention to. They're not loud like apples, not expensive like strawberries, not popular like bananas. But over the past few years, pears have quietly held a special spot in the shopping carts of thoughtful consumers gently sweet, easy to digest, affordable, rarely drenched in preservatives, and safe even for people with health issues. That is why not many people noticed that in the past 2 months, pears have become harder to pick and harder to eat than ever before. Many customers complain that pears today either don't ripen too quickly or even ripen, but still stay grainy and flavorless. Some describe it as looking perfect, but tasting like a chunk of waterlogged dough. The fault does not lie with the shopper, nor is it entirely about shipping. The real reason is the pear market itself is being shaken by two quiet forces: domestic crop failures and an influx of cheap, low-quality imports. Since June, farms across Oregon and Washington, the two biggest pear-growing regions in the U.S., have reported steep drops in yield due to late spring frosts and premature fruit drop. Bartlett, Anjou, and Bosque pears, longtime staples for middle-class families, are down by almost 30% in some areas. The result? Supermarkets are turning to imports from Argentina, Chile, and even South Africa, where the growing season runs opposite to the U.S. If you used to buy pears thinking this one is always reliable, that is no longer true this year. Prices at chains like Safeway and Albertsons are already up more than 20% compared to last year. But the bigger problem is, shoppers say buying pears now feels like gambling. You never know which fruit will be edible and which will go straight into the trash. And once consumers lose trust in a fruit they once considered safe, the issue stops being about price. It becomes a signal of deeper instability in the entire fresh produce supply chain. Do you remember the last time you bit into a crisp, juicy pear that was perfectly sweet, not tart, not gritty, not mushy? If you have to think back longer than a season, you are not alone. Today, stores carry unfamiliar varieties like Forel Star Crimson and Green Williams. Most come with little to no labeling, no ripening instructions, and almost nobody knows when they are actually ready to eat. For seniors, people avoiding sugar, managing acid sensitivity, or unable to chew harder foods, pears used to be the go-to fruit. What about now? Either gamble on each one, or give up entirely. A fruit once seen as simple and dependable has now become something people hesitate to put in their cart, not because of price, but because quality can no longer be trusted. If you still find Bartlett pears that ripen evenly sweet and smooth, count yourself lucky. Chances are next time they will be replaced with something completely different. Nobody is calling pears scarce. Nobody is posting warning signs. But one by one, box by box, as you pick them up and put them back down, the message is clear: stability has slipped away. And if even pears, the gentlest fruit in the basket, can no longer be trusted, then what fruit is truly safe anymore? No alarms, no sold-out banners. Yet in just a few short months, familiar foods on the table, from bananas, tomatoes, and lettuce to strawberries and now pears, have quietly changed. Some are climbing in price. Some are losing their flavor. Some are simply disappearing. And the scariest part is not the shortage of fruits and vegetables. It is the shortage of trust in the things we once thought would always be there.
This video does not promote division within the United States or encourage segregation. All content is presented for the purpose of exploration, analysis, and fostering discussion based on current events, public sentiment, and social trends. We fully respect the United States Constitution and all federal regulations. If today's analysis made you think, drop a comment so we can keep the conversations going. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you will never miss our next independent deep dive.